G-Roll Electronic Productions, baby.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm your local neighborhood psychotherapist. I'm JJ. Just wanted to do a little. I'm trying to do an hour today. I got a little in between time in between clients, so I wanted to hop on and cover some important news of today. I'm probably gonna come back a little bit later this afternoon as well. I'm trying to grind and do a little bit more live. So you're gonna be seeing me doing a lot more lives here. So you might want to hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm going live. I want to get that hustle like DJ Academics. I've been watching DJ Academics, and I don't agree with a lot of his takes, but he is very entertaining when it comes to the music industry. So I've been watching a lot of him, and I see him grinding and hustling and going on a lot of lives and stuff like that. He got a deal with Spotify, and he's still doing a lot of stuff live. And I was like, wow, he's hustling. He's really hustling. So I need to step my game up and start doing a little bit more live stuff. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's see what we got. It's showing that there's no data right now, but it looks like it's working correctly. Everything looks like it's working, but it says no data. That's pretty weird. All right, so let's start talking. Let's go ahead and start covering this news here. All right, let's see. All right, so let's start off with the first news of the day. Rideshare companies, retailers brace for Biden admin's crackdown on independent contractors. It's pretty crazy here, and this is why we got the 87. They're wanting the 87,000 IRS agents, and so they can come over and they want to go after the independent contractors. They want to go after the small businesses. They want to go after the middle class. That's why they got the 87,000 IRS agents, and Biden going to do a crackdown here. After weeks of lobbying the White House on how gig workers should be treated, the rideshare, delivery, and retail industries are bracing for a new rule that is likely to make it easier to classify them as employees, multiple sources say. A proposed rule from the Department of Labor aimed at defining whether gig workers for companies including Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and retailers such as Amazon.com are misidentified as independent contractors is under review at the White House's Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs and is expected to be released in coming weeks. While the details of the new rule are not known, the department would model it on legal guidance that says people economically dependent on a company are employees, or go even further to expand the pool of workers who should receive benefits, legal experts said. Groups representing employers, including the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the National Association of Home Builders, the National Retail Federation, and Associated Builders and Contractors, have met with officials at the White House Office of Management and Budget, according to the White House records and sources. Some of the groups have been trying and failing to convince the White House that any broad rule would hurt workers who want to remain independent and have flexibility. People familiar with the discussion said more than 1/3 of U.S. workers, or nearly 60 million people, performed some sort of freelance work in the past 12 months. A December 2021 survey by Freelance and Marketplace Upward showed. See, this is about they don't want you to be independent. They want you to be under a corporate structure so they can really get to your taxing and get rid of your. Me personally, I'm considered an independent contractor. Even though I work for a major company, I'm an independent contractor. I'm independent. I wouldn't want to go on. I like my freedom. Some people like the independence. Some people like the freedom, but the government don't want you to be independent. They want you to be under umbrella, so it's easier for them to tax you, easier for them to take your money. That's what I believe this is about, really. Broadly defining independent contractors as employees would also force companies to pay benefits such as overtime pay, health benefits that would hurt their bottom line. That means their cost and stuff that'll make the cost and stuff to go up. So that means when you get Uber, when you get a Lyft or something like that, if they're gonna have to pay these people benefits, that means your ride share is gonna cost a lot more. Employers can save about 30% by skipping payroll taxes and unemployment and benefit costs, workers groups estimate. The meeting at the White House were one-sided, with officials at OIRA letting groups speak and not participating or asking follow-up questions. Several employer sources said they are interpreting that as a sign the Biden administration mind is made up. Political. It says it's all very political. The administration has been clear about the stakeholders they care about and how organized labor is something they care about, said a senior official at one of the employer groups who met with the White House to discuss the proposed rulemaking. And this is again, this is I think a lot of the unions are pushing this, and that's why they want this so they can get some type of union going as well. Quote, we expect it to be more antagonist toward independent work, the official who did not wish to be named said, and to hurt companies that rely on gig labor. A White House officials said that listening without comment is part of a standard rulemaking process at OIRA. Representatives and lobbyists for employers argue against administrator interpretation and the economic realities test issued in 2015 under the Obama administration, which said most workers should be considered employees under the Fair Labor Standards Act. They also present their opposition to the ABC test, which determines employee status. I'm not optimistic that the concerns we raise are going to change the direction of the rulemaking, said another lobbyist for an employer group who spoke to the White House. Now, I think, so if this thing, he does make these rules, get ready for your the price of your Uber, the price of your Lyft, and all these other independent contractors places. Expect the prices of those to go up. All right, let's talk about this. Now, this was really sets me off because I'm a veteran, so I feel for the vets here, and they just handing out money like candy, except for the people that really actually need it. After U.S. Soldiers were told to go on food stamps, Congress finds another $12 billion for Ukraine. I can't remember if I covered this yesterday or not, but in the bill that they're trying to pass, they added on another $12 billion to Ukraine, as if we didn't give them enough money already. I think if we give them this $12 billion, it'll amount to a total of like 60 something billion dollars we would have given Ukraine for something we got nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. In fact, it's actually caused by us. It's caused by the West. And now we're giving Ukraine all this money when we got people here struggling. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Congressional lawmakers agreed to a deal that would provide another $12 billion in aid to Ukraine, which would bring the total military and economic resources provided over $66 billion. Where is all this money coming from? They're just printing money. They're just giving money out, and it makes no sense. The news follows the Senate passing a $40 billion aid package in May, along with the $14 billion package in March. President Biden earlier this month asked Congress for an additional $11.7 billion in aid for Ukraine, but Congress, in turn, seems to be jumping at his behest. Now, I don't know how they come up with these numbers, like 11.7. Like, where do they get these numbers from? As a reminder, also earlier this month, the Army told active duty American soldiers to go on food stamps if they were unable to afford food thanks to inflation. Food stamps for American soldiers, endless billions for Ukraine. This is your country now. Reuters reports that the funding agreement for Ukraine would address a variety of financial needs for Ukraine, including the hope that it would, quote, reduce future energy costs. What? So we're paying money for Ukraine energy costs. Meanwhile, the White House, which has been touting lower gas prices despite them being well over the national average, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit because gas prices are going back up again. But when Biden took office, has suddenly gone quiet. Why? Because they're going back up again. And see, that's what I was just alluding to. Biden and Congress won't do anything to address American energy woes. But as long as Ukraine keeps showing a little leg, the political strip club patrons on the left and right will continue to shell out dollars. And I'm glad they said left and right because both sides is funding this bull crap here. All right. Deadly Democrats, the crime wave no one's talking about. The left-wing killing spree is out of control. Look at this stuff. Craziness, craziness. Violent crime continues to rise across the United States, and Democrat politicians are struggling to defend their anti-law enforcement policies that in some cases resulted in preventable deaths. And the crazy thing is now they're pretending like they're not anti-law. They're pretending like they didn't say defund the police. As a matter of fact, I think I went over it yesterday with Jean Pierre how she was saying that it's the Republicans that wanted to defund the police and saying that Biden was against that. Like they are just totally distorting history. It wasn't even that long ago when they were talking about defunding the police, and now they're trying to pretend like they never said defund the police. This alarming crime wave has coincided with a market increase in the number of Democratic donors, operatives, and elected officials, and other left-wing maniacs arrested and charged with violent crimes. Here are a few of the most notable Democrat Party officials and associates to be charged, prosecuted, or sentenced for violent crimes in 2022. You got Sean Cattle, a longtime Democratic consultant in New Jersey, pleaded guilty in January to hiring two people to murder a former associate, Michael Garderi, who was found stabbed to death in his apartment in May 2014. Cattle, a former aide to Democratic State Senator Ray Lesniak, operated a network of shady super PACs that poured money into local races throughout New Jersey. He also was implicated in an Acorn-linked voter fraud scandal in Texas. We all remember Acorn. Catto was scheduled to be sentenced in June, but that hearing was postponed until December amid reports that the Democratic operative was cooperating with federal authorities. So I wonder if he's going to get off with this. He hired people to kill someone. Or does it? How? What are you cooperating with? You committed. This is crazy. Ed Buck received a 30-year sentence in April after Democratic mega donor and prominent California activist was found guilty of luring two men to his home and injecting them with fatal doses of methamphetamine. I remember this case. Federal authorities allege that Buck engaged in lethal and unchecked pattern of reckless disregard for human life by soliciting victims for sex by promising to provide them with drugs. Just ridiculous. During the trial, Buck's victim described being administered a variety of drugs until they lost consciousness, at which point Buck sexually assaulted them. U.S. Attorney Tracy L. Wilkinson applauded the sentence, noting that the Democratic donor, quote, preyed upon vulnerable victims, men who were drug dependent, and often without homes to feed, an obsession that led to death and misery. Just despicable. And of course, we all know Ghislaine Maxwell, a longtime associate of Bill and Hillary Clinton, who attended former first daughter Chelsea Clinton's wedding in 2010, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for sex trafficking underage girls. Authorities allege that Maxwell played an instrumental role in helping another Clinton associate, the late multimillionaire pedo Jeffrey Epstein, to acquire and abuse young girls for at least a decade. Epstein, former pilot, testified at trial that former President Clinton made several trips on the pedo's private jet, often referred to as the Lolita Express. And I've been talking about this way back in the day, back on my old channel. I've been talking about this whole thing. But my question is, how come she's the only one that's going to prison for this? What about all the people that was having sex with these little kids? Where's the book? Everyone's wondering, where's the book? Then you got Jerry Harris, the former Biden campaign surrogate and star of Netflix documentary series Cheer, was sentenced in June to 12 years in federal prison for sex crimes involving minors. Several months after taking part in an Instagram live discussion with Biden in June 2020, Harris was arrested for sexually assaulting a 15-year-old boy at a cheer competition and paying another underage victim to send him sexually explicit photos and videos on Snapchat. I mean, these people are sick. And then you got Alex Murdaugh. He was charged in July with killing his wife and son. We got Nicholas Ross, who was charged in July for attempted murder of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh after being arrested outside the Justice home in Maryland with a knife. I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on. On and on and on. And this is Biden's America. This is Biden's America. All right, now let's talk about the gas prices right now. Crazy. The gas prices right now. The Biden regime doesn't want you to notice gas prices are going back up. And that's what I was alluding to earlier. Gas prices are going back up. Oh, hold on one second. Make sure. I got a message, a work message on Slack. Let me make sure this is not important. Nope, we're good. All right, just making sure. All right. If you haven't seen or heard your favorite brainwashed leftists talk about gas prices in the last week or so, it's probably because they can no longer claim that the prices are dropping, even though they've only been dropping from the all-time high that President Joe Biden regime facilitated in the first place. After months of national average prices for gas for a gallon of gas falling from the regular unleaded all-time high of $5, the price in which in the last week has gone back up over 7 cents, from 367 to 377, according to AAA. Bolshevik Beijing Biden must not have gotten the memo, because he claimed on Monday that in some few states gas is below $3. I don't know where this is. And while that might be true at a specific gas station in certain states, the average hasn't dropped below $3 in a single state. So let's listen to this really quick.
With the price of gas down $1.30 since the beginning of the summer, in some few states it's below $3.
Just lies on top of lies, this guy. And then you got socialist AOC seriously tried to blame the burdens of capitalism as the reason young people in certain countries aren't having kids. I don't know why they posted this. This has nothing to do with the gas stuff. But so gas is going back up again. So that's why you don't really hear them claiming that, hey, gas is going down now. And it's I don't think it's going to get any better. Chris Wallace gets served his just desserts with latest news about CNN show. No one's watching his show. No one's really watching CNN. You have to love it when pomposity gets punctured. If there ever was a face of that very concept, it would likely be Chris Wallace. Wallace fled Fox, which he had been on forever, for the wilds of CNN. Whether he thought Fox was beneath him after all those years, or just that he would be more ideologically in line with CNN and the liberal mantra, it isn't clear. What is clear is that he went to CNN in the middle of a shakeup at the network that has upended a number of liberal partisans at the network, like Brian Stelter and John Harwood, who both were shown the door, and it's not gone well for him there. Like I said, no one's really watching his show at all. Wallace went to CNN because Jeff Zucker promised him a weekday interview program on CNN Plus, But then Zucker got fired, and CNN Plus predictably tanked, leaving Wallace twisting in the wind. And the thing, no one was people already was not watching CNN. It was on like airports. They had some deal where CNN was being played in airports, and that was most of the viewers, I believe, was from airport viewage. People watching it while they're in the airport because that's the channel it was on. And then they decided to say, hey, how about we get a subscription service, call it CNN Plus, and charge people to watch our bull crap. And it tanked. I don't remember how long it lasts, but it wasn't long. I don't think it was even a month of them having it. No one signed up for this subscription. An insider with knowledge of the situation told Radar Online, quote, he went over there for Zucker, and now Zucker's gone. Wallace feels that he has been stiffed. He got no staff, no executive producer, and the guy he gave up a prize gig for has just walked out the door. In April, CNN Plus was shut down 1 month after launch, and Wallace's show was put on ice. The new CNN CEO, Chris Light, decided to keep the show and move it to Sunday night and has an airing on HBO Max at the same time. Nobody's watching it. What's up, Copper Skies? Copper Skies said, working, but we'll catch the show later. All right, Copper Skies. Appreciate you. Thanks for your support. Fox had a great troll of CNN Plus. Let me see. They tweeted this out. It's pretty funny. I love it. But the premiere of Wallace's new show on Sunday was a bomb with only 401,000 viewers in the time slot and only 43,000 in the critical 25 to 54 age demographic. By contrast, Trey Gowdy had more than 3 times that on Fox News with his Sunday show, with the 1.3 million and 78,000 in the key demo. Just getting wrecked. Word was that he was irate when Zucker was ousted. I'm just guessing that this news is going to make him more irate because after all, his effort, people still don't want to listen to him. Fox Nation host Tammy Bruce summed up Wallace's total downfall by citing the Radar Online. She said, total bomb. Chris Wallace's CNN show premiere tank pulls only 44,000 viewers in key demo. That's pretty funny. All right. Now let's talk about some disturbing news here about the Satanic temple. This is how you know that abortion is evil. This is how you know that it's satanic. When the Satanic temple is actually suing Indiana over new abortion restriction law. So I thought it was about the women. So why is the Satanic temple suing? Because it's a satanic thing. That's why they got to have their sacrifices. And if you ban it, the Satanic temple can't have their sacrifices. So that's why they're suing. And they're suing on religious grounds, which prove what I've been saying all along, is that abortion is evil and it's satanic. Because they're saying they're using religion. This is why they don't. That's what they're suing on. The Satanic temple, TST, is suing the state of Indiana over its recently passed abortion restriction law, claiming it infringes on the rights of its followers and violates the Constitution. The lawsuit, filed on September 21st, named Indiana Republican Governor Eric Holcomb and Attorney General Todd Rokita as defendants in the legal case. Quote, members of TST hold the religious belief that an unwanted zygote, so they don't say infant, they don't say baby. See the slick term, they call it a zygote. Blastocyst, embryo, or non-viable fetus, now they call it a non-viable fetus, should be removed from the body of a pregnant woman. The belief is grounded in TST Tenet 3, that a woman's body is inviolable, subject to her own will alone, the lawsuit reads. Among the organization's 7 tenet is also Tenet 5, which says beliefs should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. The lawsuit alleges that, quote, members of TST holds the religious belief that a zygote, blastocyst, embryo, and non-viable fetus are part of a woman's body and not imbued with an existence, humanity, or spiritual life, separate and apart from the mother. This is sickening. The Satanic Temple, based in Salem, Massachusetts, claimed more than 1.5 million members worldwide, according to the text of the lawsuit. More than 11,300 of its members are reportedly located in Indiana. The group is not alone in criticizing Indiana's new law following the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade in June. The White House has also been outspoken in its condemnation of the Hoosier state's new abortion limitations. Quote, the Indiana legislature took a devastating step as a result of the Supreme Court's extreme decision to overturn Roe v. Wade and eliminate women's constitutionally protected right to abortion, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in a statement in August. But what about the baby's constitutional right to life? What about that? They never bring that up. And it's another radical step by Republican legislators to take away women's reproductive rights and freedom and put personal health care decisions in the hands of politicians rather than women and their doctors, she added. The new Indiana law went into effect on September 15th. The restrictions against abortion include exceptions for rape, incest, and protecting life of the mother. The governor released a statement regarding his August bill signing that expresses concern for protecting life. Quote, following the overturning of Roe, I stated clearly that I would be willing to support legislation that made progress in protecting life. In my view, SEA 1 accomplished this goal following its passage in both chambers, the Indiana General Assembly, with a solid majority of support, Holcomb wrote. The Satanic Temple's legal battle is not its first. Earlier in September, the Daily Wire reported that the group is challenging a Texas law that bans most abortions after a fetal heartbeat can be detected, and that's the reason why they're changing the whole definition of what's a fetal heartbeat, so they can say, hey, the baby don't have a heartbeat, so this law don't apply. They're slick. The evil people are slick. All right, let's talk about this. Fake charities are spending millions to help Democrats win elections. It's no secret that government agencies give the left more of a leash than the right. I mean, come on. All you have to do is just look at the guy that the Catholic guy that pushed the guy to the ground because he was accosting his son, and then a year later the FBI come knocking down his door. All you got to do is look at that. But headline-grabbing stories over the past few years have exposed the overt political bias of agencies such as the FBI and the Justice Department. But underreported is a much larger story of the same ideological malfeasance in the nonprofit sector, a topic less sexy than corruption in the intelligence agency, but arguably more important due to the growth of political activism via charities. In fact, what the IRS isn't doing in the nonprofit or public charity sector will affect the midterm elections far more than any FBI raid ever could. A big part of the IRS's job is the oversight of 501c3 nonprofit organizations that are awarded tax-exempt statuses because of the beneficial work they do. There are many different rules that the 501c3 nonprofit groups must follow to maintain their favorite status, but the most important is that the 501c3s are forbidden to engage in partisan electioneering or efforts to aid political candidates and affect the results of elections in any way. And that's the main thing right there. And we know that leftist organizations are getting away with that. Advocacy and political bias are allowed, but elections are strictly off limits. Enter fake charities such as the Voter Participation Center, State Voices, Voter Registration Project, that siphon tens of millions of dollars every year from billionaires and their charitable foundations to use in ways that the IRS strictly forbids. By abusing their knowledge of racial demographic voting trends and enormous micro-targeted voter databases, these groups can ensure they only register people likely to vote for Democrats and function as tax-exempt Democratic PACs. It's sickening how they get away with this. The partnership of these civic participation nonprofit groups has been an open secret for decades. The Association of Community Organizations for Reform now is the best and earliest example, and the one most people know. During the 2008 election cycle, Acorn, and we know that that group been disbanded, have harvested voter registration forms from over 1.3 million people, and the organization crumbled after numerous Acorn activists were investigated and charged with forgery, fraud, and bribery related to voter registration work. Now they got a bunch of Acorns. Later, in a 2012 book, The Victory Lab, The Secret Science of Winning Campaigns, liberal journalist Sasha Eisenberg wrote of the Voter Participation Center, which raised $88 million in 2020. Even though the group was officially nonpartisan for tax purposes, there was no secret that the goal of all its efforts was to generate new votes for Democrats. I mean, it's just corruption on top of corruption, and the IRS is letting them get away with it. Reams of evidence from the years since former President Barack Obama campaign shows that nothing has really changed. WikiLeaks emails to John Podesta from 2015 showed Democratic strategists asking Podesta, who was then Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, to sign off on nonpartisan voter registration drives. Is this the registration program you were hoping for? Can I push it? One email reads, the particular registration program was dubbed the Everybody Votes campaign, and the confidential executive summary bragged that for the low price of $100 million, a network of charities for hire could register 6.3 million people and gin up 2 million likely Democrat votes in swing states by 2020. This Everybody Vote campaign appeared again in 2019 when reporter Teddy Schliffler obtained leaked copies of a memo from Democratic super PAC Mind the Gap, which instructed donors to give to Everybody Votes campaign housed within the Voter Registration Project and the Voter Participation Center because of the tax breaks and to keep the whole thing a secret from the media. I mean, they do some really dirty tactics. From 2016 to 2020, the Voter Registration Project and its satellite education fund racked in over $120 million. Meanwhile, the memo boasts openly that tax-exempt status make these groups 4 to 10 times more cost-effective at netting additional Democrat votes when compared to traditional PAC spending. So it's corrupt. We know it's corrupt, and the IRS are letting them get away with it. Let's see. Consider that for a moment, the best way a Democrat super PAC knew to influence elections in partisan manner was to give millions to nonprofit groups forbidden from both being partisan and influence elections. Furthermore, the organization named above are just a few examples of dozens, yet somehow the public is expected to believe these are charities. As a result, the IRS's benevolent neglect, left-wing civic engagement non-profit groups have grown into their own numerous industry that churns out new votes for Democrats by the thousands. By their own admission, these groups have become a Democrat Party's most powerful weapons in election years. But because mentioning nonprofit groups doesn't drive clicks, many people don't even know the effect they have on elections. Either the IRS must use a few of its 87,000 new agents to enforce the rules equally, which I don't think is going to happen, or nonprofit organizations should be barred from conducting voter registration altogether. And that's what I think needs to happen. They need to be barred from that because you can't trust these groups, especially these leftist groups. Let me go over a couple more news. What time we got? Yeah, I can go over a couple more here. Maybe I'll do I'll look a little bit on Twitter and what's going on there. It's happening again. Bad polling is giving Democrats a false sense of confidence going into the election. All you got to do is look at what Michael Moore is saying. I don't know if he believes what he's actually saying, that the Democrats are going to win in the landslide, or maybe it's just wishful thinking. But quote, polling is broken. Robert Kahali of Trafalgar Group told NRO's Dan McLaughlin recently. Despite general agreement among pollsters that Kahali's statement is accurate, it appears that most in the polling community have given up trying to figure out where they're going wrong. They've made a few changes in methodology, a tweak here and there in how they approach potential voters, but the essence of their polling remains where it was in 2016. then as in 2020, the problem wasn't so much in not picking winners and losers correctly. The problem was the difference between the reality of the election numbers and the margin of victory predicted by the polls. The polling average in 2020 predicted a margin of victory for Biden of 8 points. Obviously, it was nowhere near that number, and there were several Republican Senate candidates that were sold short by most of the polls. The same phenomenon may be happening in 2022, and the problem may be similar to the pollsters missed in 2020, which they missed was the shy Trump voter who isn't really shy, but rather highly suspicious of pollsters in the wake of the January 6th hearing. Politico said Celindy Lake, a prominent Democrat pollster, told Politico that her firm, Lake Research Partners, is working hard to get the right balance of voters in its samples, but that a certain segment of Trump voters is increasingly elusive, especially as former president exploits have preoccupied the headlines lately. Quote, it's less of an issue for a long time, Lake said. It looks to us like it's getting to be more of a problem recently with the Mar-a-Lago thing and his candidates winning a lot of these primaries with the January 6th committee. PJ Media Matt Malargis had an excellent interview with Trafalgar's colleague who notes the growing impatience of pollsters. It's not quite a rule of thumb, but Republican Trump voters are far more reluctant to talk about their opinions than Democrats. Rather than polls, there are other indications of the direction the election is headed. The New York Times numbers guy Nate Cohn directs our attention to a surprising omen for 2022. So let's see what he has to say about this omen here. It can be difficult to discern these kinds of subtle shifts in national mood, but Google search trends offer a decent rough measure. For the first time since the Dobbs ruling overturned Roe v. Wade, Google searches for the economy and immigration have overtaken searches about abortion. Searches for democracy or January 6 hearings have also fallen. It's still too early to say whether this subtle shift in electoral attention will work to the advantage of Republicans. To extend the political wins analogy, maybe the pro-democratic winds have subsided, yielding a relatively stable political environment that won't do much to nudge the polls in either direction. Indeed, the polls have moved much at all over the last few weeks. But those polls that have changed favor Republican. The data is probably too recent to refer to as a trend, but when a bunch of data points converge, you have to think something is going on. The two latest polls showing generic support for the parties favor Republicans. All right, so I'm going to end that one there. You get the gist of that. Don't trust the polls. But while I say that, there's a recent poll that just came out. Poll finds 61% of voters say the U.S. is in a recession. That don't bode well for Democrats at all. And then 67% blame Biden for the nation being on wrong track. And that definitely does not bode well for Democrats at all. A 61% majority of registered voters believe that Joe Biden economy has landed us in a recession, according to the McLaughlin and Associates poll. And that's what I was just alluding to. Just 35% of voters do not think that the economy is in a recession. I would really love to talk to people that don't believe we're in a recession right now, and because I really want to know what indicator they are using to say we're not in a recession. Because if by every measure that I see, we're in a recession. Look at food prices. Look at the cost of everything. Look how the housing sales are down. Gas prices are up. I mean, look at all this stuff. By every indication, every measure that I see, we're in a recession. So I really would like to talk to someone who doesn't believe we are. Unfortunately for Democrats, a whopping 67% majority say that it is Biden's fault that the nation is on the wrong track. In even more bad news for Democrats, 45% cited economic recovery as their top issue. Only 28% said that social issues are their top priority. In July, Biden claimed that there is no recession despite having 2 consecutive quarters of shrinking economic growth. And we talked about that. We know that was the definition of a recession. And now and we know that the Democrats are changing terms and what stuff, definitions of things. So let's go. What time we got? Yeah, let's check out Twitter really quick. I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because I gotta get ready for my next client here. So let's see what we got going on Twitter. All right. Let's see. Dan Bongino tortures FBI agents selling out the country for a pension. Let me see. Will this play? Let's see what Dan Bongino has.
Yeah, man, you're damn right it's for real. And it was certainly for real for the pro-life speaker, Mark Houck, who had his home raided by our now thug-like FBI who...
Hey, man, thugs, that's what they are. I mean, what person in their right mind would think it's okay to send all these agents over to a Catholic guy's house that was just standing up for his son? He didn't do anything wrong. And they try to trump up some crazy charges. And this is par for course for the left here.
Who thinks it's a good idea and is very proud of the fact that they've become thug-like enforcers for the DOJ and the Biden DOJ. They don't care, folks. They don't care. I'm getting a little frustrated with some on our side who feel the need to extol the virtues of the FBI before they then tell the truth about the FBI. You don't have to stigmatize.
The FBI is corrupt. I've been saying that. I've been saying that the FBI needs to be disbanded. I've never trusted the FBI ever. I grew up knowing history. I grew up knowing about what the FBI did to Martin Luther King, what they did during the Civil Rights Movement. I knew about all this stuff. So I've never had trust for the FBI. I always knew they were corrupt. But now people are just finding out what people like myself already knew about the FBI.
Yeah, man, you're damn right it's for real. And it was certainly for real for the pro-life speaker, Mark Houck, who had his home raided by our now thug-like FBI who thinks it's a good idea and is very proud of the fact that they've become thug-like enforcers for the DOJ and the Biden DOJ. They don't care, folks. They don't care. I'm getting a little frustrated with some on our side who feel the need to extol the virtues of the FBI before they then tell the truth about the FBI. You don't have to stigmatize, nor should we, every agent working there, because it wouldn't be the case. I told you, I know how the FBI works. I've got guys in field offices in Anchorage, Alaska, investigating, cross-state kidnapping crimes. They've done nothing wrong. They have no...
Yeah, it's the upper echelons of the FBI. It's the ones that actually run the FBI, that come up with FBI policies and regulations and stuff. These are the ones that are that's the bad part of the FBI. The rank and file ones, they have no control over that. They have to do what their superiors are telling them, unfortunately.
No idea what's going on with these cases. Some of them been there 5 years or less. They swore an oath. They meant it. Where are they? Whistleblower. They have nothing to blow the whistle on. A lot of them are in field offices, have no connection to this stuff at all. So you got those guys that are probably a decent portion of the Bureau. You've got the whistleblowers. Our guy, he says there are, and a contact of mine says there are potentially hundreds more that he's aware of that may be willing to come out and speak. So you figure the entity, though, has, I don't know, what does the FBI have, 20,000 plus agents or something like that? I'm not really sure what they have right now. But where are the rest of them? You figure there's got to be at least a couple thousand who have intimate knowledge of this targeting of parents with the hashtag, the disgrace behind the January 6th operation, the Mar-a-Lago raid, the raiding of this pro-life pastor's house. Where the hell are they? Why aren't they speaking out? What are you doing? Well, my whistleblower...
I will say there are some whistleblowers that's coming forward that's speaking out against this.
No, he's not mine, but the one who came out to me, I should say, Precision Matters, said that some of them are just there and collecting a paycheck. Collecting a paycheck, just following orders, complying with the deliberate destruction of your country and the constitutional republic as liberals use this country and its constitution like toilet paper? Come on, man. Really? Really? This is your legacy? Being a useful idiot? Just going along with it? Again, I'll say it over and over. I'm the wrong guy to lecture on this. I saw something not half as bad. Really. I just saw the political environment in the country with Obama deteriorating, and I didn't want to be a part of it. When I came out of the government closet, so to say, and left and ran for office as a Republican, I never came out and said, "Oh, I saw Barack Obama and a birth certificate from the." I didn't get into any of that. I just said, "Listen, I'm leaving because I see the political direction of the country going in a bad way. The Hatch Act prohibits me from discussing political things publicly, and I'm leaving." To you guys involved directly with the targeting of parents at the Bureau, the January 6th stuff, the open counterterrorism cases completely violating the...
Right. Why aren't there more people coming out in the FBI? Where are they? Why aren't they being interviewed? Why aren't more FBI agents coming out and speaking to them?
Constitutional prohibitions on open-ended warrants and things like that. What the hell is your excuse? Hey, man, I got kids to take care of. Oh, bull. I got kids to take care of, too. I couldn't put braces on my daughter's teeth when I left. Don't tell me. You'll find another job. You ready to piss away your country? For what? For what, man? For what? What, are you afraid? You know the guy leading this organization, Ray, and his boss, Merrick Garland, and their boss, Biden. You know they're corrupt. You know they're tyrants. Why are you still there?
Yep.
Guys from the FBI, you raided a pro-life speaker's home this weekend on what at best, looks like an allegation of a misdemeanor assault at best.
Just despicable. Just despicable.
It's, by the way, an allegation that apparently was already thrown out of a district court in Philadelphia. This is what you're doing with your time?
When you got kids being abducted and abused and trafficked and all this other stuff that's way more important, the FBI decides to send agents to this guy's house.
You don't see anything wrong with this. That was a clip from the Dan Bongino.
Crazy. Just crazy there. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Again, follow me on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. I'm very active on Instagram. If you don't know, on Instagram, I'm trying to be the Drudge Report of Instagram, the old Drudge Report, I should say, where I post news throughout the day that's very important, but I give you a little summary of it so you can, there's a really, really quick reads and you'll be very informed. So let's see what else we got going on here. George Floyd was a criminal his whole life, and he was certainly not a hero, nor even close to I agree. You're keeping him famous by dissing him for likes and retweet. I kind of agree with that. But I mean, I don't know. It's what she thought. It's what she was thinking of. I don't know. I got nothing bad to say about that tweet. Question: do they think they're listening to you? Answer: no, they're not. The Biden administration is even ignoring Democrats when they raised the alarm about the southern border. Wow. Let's play this quick clip real quick.
We got to play defense on their 20-yard line. Oh, absolutely. I have tried, and I have tried, and I've tried. And for many years, I've said that we need to make sure we do the right thing at the border. Actually, when you look at
do you think they're listening to you? I mean,
no, they're not. We got to play defense.
Wow. So they're not even listening to their own party when it comes to immigration. Oh, Nigel Farage. Paul Joseph Watson retweeted him. I like Nigel Farage. Huge amounts of immigrants from the subcontinent provides cheap labor to big business. The Liz Truss immigration policy is betraying Brexit voting Tories, and she will pay a big price. My thing, what is taking so long with Brexit? It's been years upon years. I done totally forgot about the whole Brexit thing. What's taking them so long to disconnect? It's been years. The people voted. They wanted to leave, and I don't understand why are they still debating this? What's the holdup with that? That's weird. My TV went out for a hot second. That was weird. But I'm back. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. So I got to get ready for my next client. Utah woman forced to give ex-husband Bodur album in divorce. I don't know what that is. Let's see. In Pennsylvania, who do you think will win? I don't know. Because I really don't trust Dr. Oz at all. Shout out Hotep Jesus. Let's see. He said, who y'all want me to interview next? I'm going to say me. just for giggles. I know I'm small time, Hotep. I know I'm small time, but it would be cool to go on Hotep Jesus show and on his podcast and just talk about some of the news and stuff that we got going on. Maybe talk a little bit about mental health. Let's see, Gene. Judge Janine again. I can't say more about her book. Get her book if you don't have it. Oh, what I got? It was 8 minutes. I'm gonna do 8 more minutes, so it'll be a full hour podcast here, just in case I can't make it back later this afternoon. But I probably will. I probably will be live again this afternoon. So make sure you check me out this afternoon. Judge Janine said it's a yes or no question, and we talked about this yesterday where she would not answer. You just can't answer it because acknowledging the anarchy and crime in big cities will put the blame where it belongs, on your boss and the Dem party. I agree, and she just would not talk about how bad crime is. Bo Snerdley, and I love Bo Snerdley. If y'all don't know, he was the, I want to say, producer or whatever he was of the late great what's his name? Gosh, he passed away a couple years ago. Limbaugh, the late great Limbaugh. NYC woman fakes her grandma's signature to steal home. I remember reading that. Just despicable. Who does that to their grandmother? Who does that to their poor grandmother? NATO Stoltenberg says use of nuclear weapons would be unacceptable and have severe consequences for Russia. Alright, let's see what we got going on. What else is going on here? Advocating for life can get you killed. Something seriously wrong with the world. That is true. I heard this story. I couldn't believe it. It didn't sound real. 83-year-old woman shot in the back while passing out pro-life pamphlets. And she was in the back, so she was walking away. And the guy that shot her, I don't think he had anything to do with the conversation. Like, she was just walking away and he shot her in the back. Who does that? These leftists are crazy. They think you're evil, so they think it's okay to murder you. So MAGA people, Republicans, watch your back out there. It's crazy. Let's see. Harris County Judge Lena, and I'm definitely not voting for her, berates critics over the suggestion of Harris Health using $1.4 billion in reserves amongst false claims that Harris Health will be operating at $45 million deficit. Judge states that it would be physically irresponsible. So let's see this crazy
operate
judge.
Based on their reserves. And I'm going to allow Mr. Ramos and Mr. Berry to add any comments here. But let me just take a stab at this. If this budget doesn't pass, if my colleagues don't show up, Harris Health would be running at an operating deficit. Now, people keep savings, the rainy day savings. In government, there are reserves. Reserves are necessary because sometimes you may be facing a Hurricane Harvey perhaps. You may be facing something unprecedented, a pandemic, for example, that requires you to dip into your reserves. It is fiscally irresponsible to budget your day-to-day expenses out of your reserves. Anyone who manages any sort of budget knows that. And so for my colleagues to propose and to suggest that these CEOs and I are exaggerating and say that they could run the budget based on their reserves is completely false. It's simply not a sound budgeting practice. Moreover, we need to be able to borrow money as a hospital system in order to build new hospitals. We've all heard from Dr. Porsa and others about the disrepair in our hospital system to the point.
I'm making it my mission to make sure she does not get voted back in. We need to do. I can't remember the name of the judge. It's a Latino lady that I'm voting for. I'm gonna have to look it up. I'm sorry. I'm really bad with names, but I definitely think that Judge Lena Hidalgo, or however you pronounce her name, I think she needs to go. She's no good for Houston. Let's see. Report shows net position in February of 1.1 billion, but now Dr. Porsa of Harris Health is saying there's nothing left. Yeah, what happened to the money? Yeah, where is the money? Where is the money? Let's see. Harris Health Director Esmail Portia claims there is a $45 million shortfall, even though we have proven that there is none. He also claimed that there is no $1 billion reserve. So where's the money then? Bill O'Reilly said Killing Legends out today. Wait, what is that? He must got a new book out. Yeah. What else we got going on here? S&P 500 is down 23.3% in the first 184 trading days of 2022, the fourth worst start to a year in history. Fourth worst. And that's Biden. Biden economy. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see what else we got going on. Same reason most countries with dark skinned people don't show them racism. An indigenous Mexican woman, I wonder why they hide these people from the media. I could really get into that about we were already here from slave trade and all that other stuff, so I'm not going to get into that right now. I'll save that maybe for another time. Shout out Dane Calloway. He opened my eyes to that stuff. Let's see here. What we got here? Supreme Court makes another big Second Amendment move. Maybe I'll talk about that later. You know what? No, let's check it out. Let's check it out now. Got a couple minutes. Let's see here. The U.S. Supreme Court issued its most significant pro-Second Amendment decision in nearly 2 decades a few months ago when justices ruled 6-3 that New York concealed carry law was unconstitutionally restrictive. And I mean, I agree. The ruling experts say is significant because it means similarly restrictive concealed carry laws limited primarily to blue states are also likely to be successfully challenged. The decision is a big deal. NPR noted previously the court had only said that the Constitution protected the ability to have a gun inside the home for self-defense. In that decision, which came down in 2008, the justices didn't rule on how guns carried outside the home could be regulated. It took almost 15 years for the justices to come back to that question, but now they have. The Second Amendment protects the individual right to carry a handgun for self-defense outside the home, wrote Justice Clarence Thomas. I love Clarence Thomas, man. I'm gonna have to get his book. awesome individual, even though he's being attacked from the left. And there's some racist stuff they say about Clarence Thomas on the left. It's okay to be racist if you're going after a black person that's conservative. That's what they believe. But wrote Clarence Thomas in the majority opinion Thursday ruling. As such, 538 continued statutes like the one in New York, which required people who wanted a license to carry a concealed handgun in public to show they have good reason to are no longer allowed. Like, why do you have to show a good reason? You don't need a good reason. The Second Amendment doesn't say anything about a good reason, so I'm glad they struck that down. But that's all I'm gonna go over for right now. Again, I might come back again later this afternoon. So hit that alarm bell so when you know when I go live, you stay up to date on the latest news by subscribing, by following me on Instagram or Twitter. And check me out on democrapublics.com where I have the latest in news.